pakai ni TV macam smart. Tak ada TV dah naik dah. TV mana? Tak tahu lah kan. Okay, yang TV macam smart yang mana? Mana TV macam smart? Tak ada. Yang hello? Hello, can you hear me? Yes, ma'am. Okay, yang tu tidak. Yang tu kita dah dengar. Yang user YouTube. Mana nampak dah betul dah ni.
Tengok ujian gini depan minyak ni.
Dah kat gigi kita. Boleh kat gigi. Dah ni dah. Jom. Aku test mic dulu. Test mic dulu. Kita tahu semua yang ada ni test mic dia. Untuk nama dia.
Dia test your mic.
Okay, if you can hear me, can you thumbs up? Thumbs up.
If you can hear me, press the thumbs up. And open your camera.
Paparan ni yang tu agak cepat kan? Paparan itu sikit tak tahu ni. Dia tak browser lah yang senang tu. Nanti awak kena split pula sama. Bawa ke sini. Pakai dua screen. Sebenarnya mic dia tak test. Dia open kamera dengan mic.
Dia Sandy. Can you hear my voice? everyone can hear my voice, please turn on your voice and your camera.
Hi. Kena tekan. Kena tekan tak? Kena tekan. Hi. Can Dia, Sally and Manat Georgia, can you please turn on your camera?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Please turn on your camera. So you can see your face. Okay, so you can see you now. Okay, Dia. You have Manat Georgia. Alright, thank you, Dan. Okay. Alright. Okay, alright. So can you please, Tia, sorry, can you please, test the audio for now. Can you please speak for a while? So we can hear you or not.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Am I audible?
Again, can you repeat?
Am I audible, ma'am?
Alright, okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, how about Manat Georgia?
Ma'am, am I audible?
Okay, how are you? Alright, okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah.
Terima kasih.
Okay, so who's going to share the slide?
Ma'am, I will be presenting.
Okay, so you can share the slide now. Very good. Dia ada bagi juga, tapi Can you please share your slide now?
Ma'am, just give us a second. We're facing some technical issues. We'll resolve them right away.
All right. Ma'am, two of our members are on backstage. So,
Ma'am, actually, two of our team members are on backstage, thus they are not able to present. Yes. Okay. Is the slide visible now?
Excuse me, ma'am. One of our members, Lavisha, she is in backstage. Can you please let her in the meeting? Ma'am, can you see the slides now?
Greetings, everyone. Sorry for the delay. Namaste and a very good morning to the dedicated judges and the other representatives from excellent schools. Today, we will represent St. Mark's Senior Secondary Public School, MEERA BAGH, India for FRSIS 2023.
Uh, hold on. Okay. Oh, okay. Excuse me. Sorry. Actually, we're
Yes.
going to start with moderator.
Sorry, could you please repeat?
Yes. Uh, okay, we're going to start with the moderator, and then after that, we will give you time for you to present. Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
All right, all right.
All right, we have the moderator. All right. Okay. One reminder. Okay. Once one presenter speaking, they make sure the other presenter mute their mic. All right.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Afternoon and welcome to the judges, teachers, guests, and participants of 11 Crises 2023. Now, I'd like to introduce our judges today. The Chief Judge is Dr. Wan Muhammad Azim bin Wan Muhammad Zain from Pusat Pengurusan Kesedarangan dan Inovasi Akademik Universiti Sultan Zainal Abidin. The second judge is Ms. Rajanuana, anak perempuan Raja Gopal from College Islam Sultan Alam Shah, Kelang Selangor. The third judge is Mr. Kelvin Anak Mikun from Sekolah Menengah Sains Kuching Utara. And I, Muhammad Adil Azib Muhammad Rabdi from Sekolah Tuanku Abdul Rahman, while the timekeepers Ariel Arman bin Muhammad Lazim and Balkis Wafia Izara binti Zulkifli are from Sekolah Menengah Sains Sultan Mahmud, Terengganu. Now, please allow me to read all the rules throughout the session. First of all, each team should consist of presenters and technical assistants. Second, the presentation must focus on the sub-team assigned to the team. The duration of the presentation should not be more than 4. The bell will be rung once at the 9th minute and twice at the 10th minute. And finally, a question and answer session Q&A will be conducted after each presentation. Now, it's time for our main event. I would like to invite the first team today from St. Mark Senior Secondary Public School, MEERA, BAGH, Passion Bihar, India, to present their topic.
Thank you, judges, for the spotlight. Namaste and a very good morning to the honorable judges and the other representatives from excellent schools. Today, we will represent St. Mark Senior Secondary Public School, India for FRSIS 2023. I, Dia Sanghi, and my teammate Mannat will represent this research, which is mitigating the impacts of hunger crisis through food insecurity. Before we begin, let me introduce you to my team first. My name is Dia Sanghi and I will be the presenter. Mannat as the moderator and the second presenter. Prisha as a reporter. Lavisha as the technical assistant. And not to forget our supervising teacher, Miss Nidhi Sahani. Every day, millions of people around the world go hungry. The global crisis is a complex issue that affects individuals, families, and entire communities. It is a problem that requires immediate action as the consequences of the inaction are dire. To begin with, let's start with the background of the study. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 2 aims to achieve zero hunger. The challenges within SDG 2 are to end hunger, achieve food security, improve nutrition, and make agricultural sustainable. Why is achieving zero hunger so important? As of 2019, there are over 820 million people who suffer from hunger in the world, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization. Hunger in the world originates from inaccessibility to clean, safe, and nutritious food all year around, leading to food insecurity. This situation is dependent upon geography and economics and is more alarming in some countries in the world than in others. As we saw in the previous slides, food insecurity is a major issue. Hence, people need to be aware of the seriousness of the issue and what they can do to eradicate hunger and food insecurity. A person is food insecure when they lack regular access to enough safe and nutritious food for normal growth and development and an active and healthy life. Access to safe and nutritious food has been a fundamental concern of governments since ancient times. Aims of general food distribution is to provide food to all for basic level of survival. One third of the food produced for human consumption is lost or wasted globally. This amounts to about 1.3 billion tons per year. worth approximately $1 trillion. SDG 2 recognizes the interlinkages among supporting sustainable agricultural and empowering small farmers and ending rural poverty. Now, talking about Bharat, wastage of food, increasing poverty, discrimination amongst a certain class of the society, armed conflicts, and a major rise in population are some of the major factors affecting hunger crisis in India. In order to eradicate hunger from the society, more money needs to be invested in nutrition, and food production needs to be increased through effective methods. Throughout the project, our methodology included surveys, research, and interviews. A survey was conducted through Google Forms. The link of the form is provided below. The survey consisted of 78% Asians. A little contribution was also made by people from Europe, South America, North America, and Australia. When we asked them whether food insecurity was more of a globalized or a local issue, most of them were of the opinion that food insecurity is a global issue. 1% of the people also thought otherwise. Next, we asked respondents if there's any relation between food insecurity and the inflation of prices. Almost everyone believed that they were interrelated, and when one increased, the other also increased. Ethiopia is a country where people are impacted by hunger adversely due to reasons like limited agricultural resources and political instability. The government of Ethiopia has taken initiatives to improve agricultural practices and to provide cash and food to the needy. When When we ask people about the best way to mitigate food insecurity in Ethiopia, most people feel that providing families with food supplies who are facing critical food insecurity is the best way.
Maybe
Ma'am, we are
unmute.
so sorry to interrupt your speech.
Miss Dia, sorry, I
Actually,
need
we
to.
are facing technical issues.
Yeah, I need to stop you for a second. We can't see your slide.
Yes, that's the thing. I think there's some live issue. Could you please give us a
All
second?
right.
We'll resume soon.
Okay, we give you spare times to adjust your slide, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes. Maybe you can send us the copy of your slides so we could
Yes,
reconsider to yes.
that would be great. Where shall we send it to you?
Yeah.
On private chat?
Yes, just in case.
All right.
Uh,
Also, sir, it's a request that could you please put Mannat on stage as well, as she's also the other presenter. She's backstage.
okay. Okay, yeah. All right. Okay, now we can see. Okay, thank you.
Or else, why not we go on with the next one? What they can do is they give us a slide, we just project the slide here, they use the mic and just speak.
That's I think way to go.
Or maybe just record record the presentation and send to us. We can do it now. Takut nanti macam tu much of a time it's not fair for
Another point, another way, we let them be the last one. Let them mitigate whatever it is the issues. Once they're okay, they're ready, then present.
yeah.
But with the slides.
With the
So we can
slides.
just see the slide and they keep explaining.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes. Yes, Dia, Manat. Yes,
Sir,
Manat.
it would be a little difficult to present our slides because we are having network issues. So, would it be possible that if we send the
All
slides,
right.
if you can open it?
Okay, Manat. Here's an alternative for you. Is it possible if we continue with other participants first, and later on, during the end of today's parallel session, we will let you know in the Telegram group that you can come in again. Is that okay?
Yes, sir, that would be perfect.
All right. And also, I need you to share your slide inside the Telegram group. Can it be done, Manat?
Sure, sir, we'll do that.
Can, all right. Well, that can be arranged, right? Okay, so at the moment you cannot continue with your presentation. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Cannot, right? So, okay, thank you very much, St. Mark's team. We will continue to the next team, right? You may dismiss from the StreamYard studio. Thank you. Okay, moderator.
Wait, kembali tadi. Now, I would like to invite the second team for today's session from Sekolah Menengah Sains MUAR to present their topic.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon, our to the charming judges, rapporteurs, timekeeper, and also moderator and our beloved audience. So before we start, let me introduce us briefly. We are from Sekolah Menengah Sains MUAR, also known as Samura. So my name is Akila, and today I will be accompanied by three of my friends here, who is Murshid, Ashraf, and also Jannah. So today, we will be presenting about our topic, which is mitigating the impact of hunger crisis through food security. And our subtheme is zero hunger. So we choose agricultural sector, is it worth the effort, as our main title. So this study aims to emphasize and also to highlight the importance of agricultural sector toward food security among teenagers. Well, what is agricultural sector, you may ask? So agricultural sector is a sector of economy which includes crop and animal production, as well as agricultural engineering, and also the production of agricultural machinery, fertilizers, and other kind of product to support farming. So how does the agricultural sector affect food and hunger crisis? Well, agricultural sector play a big important role for us to get our food source. So the lack of farming activity could lead to high food demand, food shortage, and also price hike. And today, we will be focusing on the reason why teenagers nowadays are unaware about the importance of agricultural sector. But before we move on, we're going to explain about our research method. So first thing first, we created a Google form to survey the knowledge of agricultural sector among teenagers between 13 to 16 years old in our school. And we also conducted an interview with a cognitive neuroscientist who focuses on parallel between food insecurity effects on brain and also on behavior. And that is Dr. Aileen Vitorelli binti Abdul Rahman. So, before we engage the teenagers' interest in the agricultural sector, we need to know the importance. The importance of agricultural sector is to prevent farming crisis from happening in our country. And it's really important for us to know about our food safety in order for us to be healthy. Next, it is to ensure enough nutrition for the people so that there won't be any people who will suffer from malnutrition. And as we all know, malnutrition could lead to death. Last but not least, the importance of agricultural sector is to enhance the country export earning. This could help to boost our country economy so they will pay more to our farmers and a lot more food will be produced to secure our food safety. Now I would like to invite Mushid to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Akila. Now, for the next slides, let's go through to the question that we have given to our schoolmates. For the first question, we asked them about the awareness. Did they aware that our country is lacking of local laborers in agricultural sector? About 73.2% of respondents says yes, and the others 26.8% says no. On the other question, we asked them whether they are willing to provide labor in order to ensure our access to foods. About 70.9% say no, and the other 29.1% says yes. Based on the charts, we can say that most of the teenagers are aware about the problem, but most of them are willing to volunteer themselves to solve the problem that we mentioned. This eventually will lead to the decrease of local laborers in our country, and also lead to low agricultural production and more imported food from Australia and Thailand. But ladies and gentlemen, why is agricultural sector being underestimated by most of the teenagers? Based on the charts, you can see that half of the respondents think that agricultural sector has a low income in terms of salary, while the other half think that it is seen obliquely and consider the work environment to be disgusting. It all started in the year 2000s, where agricultural sector considered as 3D, which is dirty, demeaning, and dangerous. This belief makes the locals think that the agricultural sector is a second-class work, which means that agricultural sector cannot pay them well to support their living, and the safety of the job is not safety for them to work there. So that's why our country take an initiative to employ many foreign workers, mainly from Indonesia, to fulfill the workforce needs in order to safeguard our food security. Now, I will let my friend Ashraf to take the floor. All right, thank you, Rashid. Now, what are the impacts from the lack of agriculture sector? First, Malaysia will become highly dependable on imported food. As Rafizi Ramli, which is the Minister of Economic Affairs of Malaysia, stated that Malaysia should reduce its dependence on imported food because it is very risky depending on economic situation. Now, why is it risky, you might ask? This risky because of the unpredictable economic status of the imported countries. This also will burden the country financially, such as inflation, and will cause bigger economical gap. Citizens who just suffer just to get food on their plate due to increasing food prices. Now, what are the disadvantages of importing food and consuming imported food? Now let's watch a clip from Miss Ellen to learn what she thinks about the topic. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, based on Ms. Ali's statement, she stated that the use of chemical in agriculture sector can lead to soil degradation. It also can lower the quality of the plant. Next. Now, what are the use of pesticide and chemical on imported food? The first point is lack of control over usage of pesticide can be harmful in agriculture production. The second point is that imported fruits and vegetables often have chemical added to prevent it from ripening. Artificial coloring will also added on vegetable to make it look appear fresher. This chemical making the food unhealthy and often having dangerous side effects. Now, what are the important food impact to the local agriculture sector? Frequent imported food gives a stress feeling on local grown food because of the brands and the beautiful packaging. Now, it will lead to less demand for local grown food. In the end, farmers will not get a place to put their crops in the market, and this will eventually cause local agriculture sector to deteriorate itself. Now, I will pass the mic to Jannah.
Thank you, Ashraf. So let's see. Local or imported? Locally harvested food are rich in nutrition. This is because they use organic fertilizer that can boost the soil fertility and plants nutrient. While imported food are in heavy use of chemical fertilizer, will affect the soil to be high in acid and degrade the plant's nutrition. Second, they are much more affordable than imported food. This is because the marketing price doesn't include the shipping cost, which is very high. Last but not least, freshly harvested and retained nutrients. This is due to the fact that locally grown food is sold as soon as it is harvested, compared to imported food that takes a long time to be marketed due to the long delivery period. These are the solutions that we've come up from our research. There are two sides, school and government. First, school can invite young entrepreneurs to share their experience and achievements in agriculture sector to attract students' interest in agriculture sector. Second, do school farm where students can plant their own vegetables or fruits and gain profit from the produce sale. Conduct visit to modern farm which use advanced agriculture technology. So, the government's best effort is providing equipment and funding. Second, implement an awareness campaign about the importance of agriculture sector. Third, boost agriculture sector research and development (R&D) and develop young agripreneur programs and boards. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the topic we've discussed today, we can conclude that we have to develop our own independence and ability to produce our own food to reduce food import. Second, teenagers' awareness and knowledge about the agriculture sector is still low. This has induced negative perception and lack of interest in young generation to work and involve themselves in agriculture sector. Lastly, government and school system plays an important role to share to government and school system play an important role to encourage young generation to agriculture sector to safeguard our food security. So these are the references that we've used for our research, and that's all from us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sekolah Menengah Atas MUAR, for the presentation. Now, I would like to open the floor to the participants for any questions.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your presentation. I have a few questions regarding your research methodology. I'm a bit confused. What is your actual problem statement? Is it you're talking about youth involvement in agriculture, or you're talking about the scarcity of agricultural processes? Because the one that you interviewed talking about fertilizers and soil. So can you explain and justify to me which one is your actual problem statement?
So our problem statement is towards the youth, because basically we our objective is like to about awareness to the teenagers about the agriculture sector, and we mentioned about the soil quality and so on, because what if they, as you know, the youth didn't know what's there is, and the ingredients inside the foods, right? So it is important to for us to make them aware of what's inside of their food. So they will grow their own foods, so it can be more healthier and can be more safely to eat than the imported foods. Um, yes, we only take interview to one respondent.
And because qualitative data is one general qualitative test, but what we want to do should be at least more than one. Make sure that issues of the respondent covers one. That's my thing. Thank you.
You stated just now that agricultural sector is not as per your personal opinion. You're a young leader. Would you venture into agriculture?
So
Go into agriculture?
so use as for our opinion. So for me, yes, personally, yes, I will invite some agricultural activities, because it is for future. But you just imagine if our country face economic situations, our country will not have enough money to import the food from the other country. So we need to plant more foods in the agricultural sectors, so that our foods will we will always have foods in our daily life, and there is food security.
Well, in my opinion, I will try to learn at least something in the agriculture sector, because, like Murshid said, in case our country face an economic situation like inflation, I can learn to make my own food and then produce my own food to feed my family and myself. Yeah, yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for your cooperation and contribution throughout this Q&A session.
Now, now, I would like to invite Sekolah Menengah Sains Machang. Now, the floor is yours.
Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. I bid to the wise judges and my audience for today. Thank you to the moderator, Reverend Chair, and also our timekeeper for your cooperation. And thank you so much, SASMA students, for giving us the light of day. My name is Naja and I'll be your first speaker. And this is my friend Misha. She will be your second speaker. Today, our topic is under the second Sustainable Development Goal, which is Zero Hunger. We have entitled it Localized as the Food Security for Malaysia in the Future. Let's introduce our other members. We have Zakia, our technical assistant, and then we have Shamin, our moderator. Unfortunately for us, our teacher couldn't be here, but we send her much regards, which is Madam Amira. All right, before we touch on our main topics, let us start with the definition of three of our main keywords, which are zero hunger, food insecurity, and food security. First of all, what is zero hunger? Zero hunger is one of the 17 SDGs established by the United Nations in 2015. It is defined as the objective to ensure that everyone has access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. And the aim for zero hunger is to end any kind of hunger and malnutrition by 2030. Next is food insecurity. The United States Department of Agriculture, the USDA, defines food insecurity as a lack of consistent access to enough food for each and every person in a household to live a healthy and active life. Or simply saying, a condition where we're not having access to sufficient food or food of an adequate quality to meet one's need. So as you can see here is a scale showing from having food security to food insecurity. So for our country, Malaysia, we are neither fortunate nor unfortunate because our country is not in the green zone, but also not in the red zone. But we are in the orange zone, which is in the middle, which shows that we still have a shortage of necessary food, but also that does not mean that we are now on the verge of going into food insecurity. Okay, so what about food security? Food security is basically just the vice versa of food insecurity, but the keyword under the keyword of food security, there are four important aspects, which are availability, accessibility, stability, and utilization. Now, let us go in detail on these four aspects. So for availability, it refers to the sufficient amount of production of food, or in our presentation today is about rice that is available for each and everyone in our country. Next, for accessibility. Accessibility is when people have access to good quality rice despite their income. So as we all know, in Malaysia, we have three group income, which are the B40s, M40s, and T20s. So accessibility is the ability to provide enough quality rice for everyone despite from which group income they're from. And for stability, it refers to the access of quality rice at all times, day and night, and everywhere, meaning that at our local market, grocery store, or even convenience store. And lastly is utilization. Utilization is the ability for us people to store our rice while still maintaining the quality and the nutrition of our rice in terms of the shape of the rice and the durability, which is less likely to get spoiled.
Now, we have looked at the surface. Let's look at our main topic. Why did we pick rice? I think some of you probably, maybe the judges have seen other good sweet rice before. But I think it's actually a good thing because it shows how critical rice is, and that's why we chose it. I mean, rice is our staple food, it's our main source of nutrition. But these days, from Haiyan to the start, there's constantly saying, we are having shortage of local rice. For example, here, this is a recent news from Haiyan stating that local white rice cannot be found in supermarkets anymore. Isn't that quite devastating? On the other hand, the adult population consumes at least 2.5 plates of white rice, 82.3 kilograms of rice per year. And according to our survey that we conducted to our local people in Machang, they say that most of them, 52.8% of them, consume around 6 to 10 kilograms of rice per month. And yet, with that much consumption, Malaysia isn't able to produce enough rice for our people by about 60%. Now, this slide shows the number of family dependents. Why is this important? It is important because it shows that the average number of family dependents is around 4 to 6 people. Why is this important? Because towards the locals that we have interviewed, they complain, these people with 4 families, with 6 families, they complain that they do not have enough local rice, much more less than 7 people, 10 people. After all, we live in Malaysia. I'm sure you lot have seen families with 13, 12, or even more. So what's the alternative that our country had to do is to get imported rice. Before I start, can we have a little raise of hands? So those people who prefer imported rice, can you raise your hands? No. Okay. Based on our survey from our locals, most people prefer imported rice. Why? Why do they prefer imported rice? There are 3 factors. factors. Number one, because it is tastier. Number two, because it is more available. And number three, because to them it's more affordable. Now, why do they think it's tastier? I also do wonder that. To them, they think it's tastier because it's whiter, it's more appealing, okay, it's longer, and you see more clean. I guess what appeals the eyes also fills the stomach. They find them also much more available. I mean, if you go to just a small supermarket, you can find a pack of Thai rice. But how often is it you find local rice? Isn't that not that quite often? Even in supermarkets these days, it's not that easy, as we produce our rice around 3 to only 2 times a year. As for affordable, most locals think that is more affordable because of the quality. They think the quality satisfies the price, and that just makes them overall happy. Imported rice has apparently gotten the higher ups. Let's give you an example of one of the greatest exports, Thailand. And unfortunately for us, we have become a victim of Thailand's export. Thailand has used around 11.3% of their land for paddy fields. And to make sure that the rice can produce more or can stay longer, they use chemical filters, which kills the pest in an instant, makes crop grow a lot, and makes the rice whiter and cleaner. Though there is a disadvantage. The disadvantage is that the nutrition actually displayed dramatically. So, since we know that, what can we Malaysians do to increase the food security in local rice, or in this case, quantity and quality? Through our many interviews, our many surveys with professionals, our teachers, our parents, and even our classmates, all of them wrote that we should do a systematic drainage system to produce better rice in terms of quality and quantity. A statement coming from University of Wanda, Sweden, also states that a deep drainage technique are believed to enhance water and nutrition use efficiently in poorly drained paddy fields, which could trigger better rice in grain fields. This is a must because right now, our rice is only depending on rain, which is contaminated and sometimes can be acidic. This is a questionnaire. If anybody would like to answer, you may tell me because we would be honored to give you.
So other than surveys and research, we have also conducted an interview with a local farmer. So here is an interview that we have recorded. Okay, so the conclusion we get from the interview is that he himself, as a local farmer, uses imported rice. As he claims, it is more easier to get and there's a higher supplies. He also stated that imported rice lasts much longer. However, he believes that our local rice is more nutritious.
All right, it seems like we've come to the end. And the end we say that putting food security inside local rice can simply mitigate zero hunger, well, mainly because it's our main source, we can stabilize it, utilize it, and make it more affordable and available. After all, we don't want to depend on other countries just for something that we can produce ourselves, am I right? Do we really want to become a victim? And we should take the initiative to do a systematic drainage system. As for students right now, we are studying. Our goal is not simply to improve ourselves, but it's actually to improve our country. So why don't we work together, study hard, create more technology to produce better for our land? That's all from us. Thank you.
Now, I would like to invite participants to ask questions.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Murshid bin Muhammad Aris and I'm from Sekolah Menengah Sains MUAR. As you stated on your slides, you state that one of the country that's maintain their food security on rice is Thailand, right? So my question is, what are the other country that maintain their food security on rice? And can you state why?
Thank you for that question. Yes, we find Thailand as one of the biggest examples because we use Thai rice quite constantly and it's able to import. Countries that we believe have a food security in local rice is India, Vietnam. Why do we believe that? Because they are able to export their rice. They are able to provide for their locals as well as exporting. Can we even provide for our locals? No, much less exporting. I think that answers your question. Yeah.
Hi there, my name is Akila from Crises. I have a question. So perhaps one of the solutions you would suggest to ensure security for rice is to make sure is to plant more of it, right? It's to perhaps plant more of it. No. Okay. Okay. Now my question is, what if Malaysia doesn't have the suitable grounds or perhaps a suitable soil to plant rice because a large part of it is perhaps palm trees? Do you have a suggestion for that?
Percentage of the time that Malaysia's land is actually unsuitable is because of the soil. Why? Because the soil is contaminated. That's why we provide a systematic drainage system. If you hear carefully, I mentioned what? I mentioned that we rely on what? Rain. Do you realize our rain is very contaminated? The vehicles coming out, it causes the cloud to be acidic. That's the reason why most of the time our crops are dying. Is that all? Anybody else? Or judges perhaps? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sekolah Menengah Sains MACHANG, for the fascinating presentation. Now, I would like to invite Sekolah Menengah Sains SETIU to hear their presentation. Ready? The floor is yours.
Have you ever wondered how hunger has humanity in its grasp? Have you ever wondered how 10% or 828 million of the world's population go to bed hungry every night? Have you ever wondered how political instability can contribute to food crisis? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good evening, we provide and keepers and members of the board. Today, we are from Sekolah SETIU present our given study indicating the impacts of hunger crisis through food security. Before we proceed, I would first like to being members between Iyas and Haq as the first presenter,
And Daniel Hakimi as the second presenter.
along with our technician MEERA and Paul Willing as the rapporteur.
Proceeding on to the definition, I would like to highlight three key phrases, which are mitigating impacts, hunger crisis, and food security. So in this context, mitigating impact means having the effect of making something bad less severe. Meanwhile, hunger crisis is defined as a community having insufficient food and produce to sustain themselves or their children, leading to high rates of malnutrition. And finally, food security is the state of having reliable access to a sufficient quantity of affordable and nutritious food. As we all know, global crisis has impacted us on a global scale. However, with the help of food security, we have the possibility to achieve global peace and prosperity.
Moving to the timeline of hunger crisis, it all started in 1930 when Japan faced world interruption, followed by Europe Great Area faced a major drop. Approximately 130 years later, Iran suffered from famine and genocide. 2 years before we celebrated the 21st century, Congo had massive rebellion. And the most recently, in Madagascar, they encountered extreme climate changes which caused drought.
Moving on to the genesis of hunger, there are many factors to how hunger was born. Conflict is a major problem of human society around the world. Take Syria, for example. The civil war there has caused severe food insecurity. Nonetheless, climate is arguably the biggest challenge in the agricultural sector, namely El Nino events, erratic rainfall patterns, and global warming. Not to mention, poverty is the root of food insecurity. In first world countries, unemployment is the driving force of hunger due to the inability to buy food commodities. However, system failure is a problem rooted in all agriculture industries as it comprises of food production, storage, and distribution. The failure of any of these procedures can cause widespread hunger. Moving on, an economic crisis will greatly impact everyone, even middle-income families. The food prices will spike and hinder a majority of society. And finally, political instability is a major yet undiscovered problem of world hunger. For example, the Democratic Republic of Congo's weak and corrupt government has caused continuous conflict, hunger, and overall chaos across the country for many years. With these causes of hunger comes the effects. Firstly, hunger is because of food insecurity. And food insecurity is partly because of scarcity of food. Thus, inflation is born. The food prices will spike, and the low income and unemployed percentage of the population will be forced to go days with little to no food. Moving on, citizens within food insecure countries will be more inclined to migrate to other countries. Let's say a group of farmers leave their farms behind to take refuge in a neighboring country. Their farms, sources of food, will be abandoned and actually contribute more to the country's food insecurity, resulting in a worse hunger problem. The second to last problem on our list, hunger possesses a strong connection to chronic diseases such as high blood pressure and diabetes. Not many people know this, but a hungry stomach can compromise one's immune system, making them more susceptible to diseases. Finally, and above all, we will only see an increase in the death toll if no action is taken. As I am talking right now, there are people out there weakened and begging to be freed from the shackles of hunger. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the harsh truth of our world.
Now here are the statistics of this harsh truth. Approximately 10% of each 828 million people on Earth experience hunger. In the region, 12% of the population experience hunger. On the other hand, in Democratic Republic of Congo, the number of affected people is doubled to 24%. While in Ukraine, the number is slightly higher, which is 30%, primarily due to its war with Russia. In Syria, however, more than half of the population suffered from hunger. Unfortunately, in Malaysia, 2.5% of the population experienced hunger. This shows that the Malaysian government has done and is still doing a good job. Congratulations and thank you to Malaysia's government for
Considering a few effective but challenging solutions to world hunger, I will first start with food security. So food security is essentially the enhancement of food systems by upgrading various policies, which I will explain in detail later. Next, to increase the efficient usage of resources, we first need to reduce the amount of wasted food. This will directly lessen the expenditures of producing food to feed every layer of society. Now we'll move on to a very problematic topic, which is climate change. As the years go by, the temperature increases due to greenhouse gas emissions. Therefore, humanity as a whole needs to adopt an initiative to lessen the worsening of Earth's climate. In countries with naturally extreme climates, however, they need to invest in climate-resilient crops in order to solidify their food security. And finally, we believe political stability will be the pivotal solution to hunger crisis around the globe. This is because with a strong and reliable government, the agricultural sector will find itself with massive funding, thus skyrocketing the rate of production of food, and finally, will strengthen food security. In accordance with our sub-theme, mitigating the impacts of hunger crisis through food security, I would like to focus on the foundations of food security. So food security is divided into four main pillars. Firstly, availability is the availableness of sufficient quantities of food of appropriate quality supplied through food productions and imports. Secondly, accessibility is the access of individuals to adequate resources for acquiring appropriate food for a nutritious diet. Thirdly, utilization is the usage of food through adequate diet, clean water, sanitization, and healthcare to reach a state of nutritional well-being. And fourth, stability means to be food secure, meaning a household or individual must have access to food at all times.
Now, take a look. Hardly any black drop across the country. What is one Grand River has completely dry out. This was the longest to be the standing river bed. This hunger crisis that they start have you and to improve their people's welfare. To really put this into perspective, a child in Madagascar barely consumes enough food.
Assalamualaikum. I have a question related to your ethnographic research. how did you carry your ethnographic research? Do you involve interviews or you involve through content analysis? Just explain it. Yeah.
By ethnographic research, you meant our regions, right? So, as this is not a fully fledged research, we just dived into the web and collected many information, and thus we concluded that using our own calculations, we attained the statistics that we have used in our slides.
Right. So you mentioned just now that Malaysia government has done quite well in terms of our food security. But if there is one area aspect that our government can improve on, what would it be and why?
So, we think the Malaysian government should obviously improve the poverty problem in our country. For example, Sabah has a very problematic poverty problem. The citizens there, many of the citizens there suffer from food insecurity. Thus, the Malaysian government should put more focus onto that specific region in order to improve their people's welfare.
Thank you, Sekolah Menengah Sains SETIU, for this presentation.
Like this.
All right, sound check 1, 2. Welcoming St. Mark's High School. Welcoming St. Mark's High School. Welcoming St. Mark's High School. Sound check 1, 2. Sound check 1, 2. Right. Okay, we are adding everyone to the screen. Okay, all right, thank you very much. I've seen that you have shared your slide.
Yes.
Okay,
So, shall we start?
The audience here requested for a 5-minute toilet break. I'm so sorry about that. 5-minute toilet
That's
break.
all right.
Toilet break. Okay.
That's all right, sir.
Right. About 5 minutes. We will start.
Okay, sir.
May I know, Dia, are you the only speaker, or who else are the speakers here? May I know?
Mannat will be speaking with me as well. There are 2 presenters.
Right. Can I have the second presenter? Manat, is it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay, I have positioned Manat and Dia next to each other. Manat, can you do a sound check?
Am I audible?
Yes, Manan, loud and clear. Thank you very much for the response. All right. Okay, so everybody, please stay on standby. We will begin on my cue. Hold on, hold on. Thank you. Right, students, we shall begin now. I will pass the floor to the moderator to welcome you again, and then we can start. Right, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the spotlight, and we apologize for the technical issues we faced earlier. So, namaste, and a very good morning to the dedicated judges and other representatives from excellent schools. Today, we will represent St. Mark's Senior Secondary Public School, India, for FRSIS 2023. I, Dia Sanghi, and my teammate Mannat will represent this research, which is mitigating the impacts of hunger crisis through food insecurity. Before we begin, let me introduce you to my team first. My name is Dia Sanghi, and I will be the presenter. Mannat as the moderator and the second presenter. Prisha as the reporter. Lavisha as the technical assistant, and not to forget our supervising teacher, Miss Nidhi Sahani. Every day, millions of people around the world go hungry. The global crisis is a complex issue that affects individuals, families, and entire communities. It is a problem that requires immediate action as the consequences of the inaction are dire. To begin with, let's start with background of the study. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 2 aims to achieve zero hunger. The challenges within SDG 2 are to end hunger, achieve food security, improve nutrition, and make agriculture sustainable. Why is achieving zero hunger so important? As of 2019, there are over 820 million people who suffer hunger in the world, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization. Hunger in the world originates from inaccessibility to clean, safe, and nutritious food all year round, leading to food insecurity. This situation is dependent upon geography and economics and is more alarming in some countries in the world than in others. As we saw in the previous slides, insecurity is a major issue. Hence, people need to be aware of the seriousness of the issue and what they can do to eradicate hunger and food insecurity. A person is food insecure when they lack regular access to enough safe and nutritious food for normal growth and development and an active and healthy life. Access to safe and nutritious food has been a fundamental concern of governments since ancient times. Aim of general food distribution is to provide food to all for a basic level of survival. One third of the food produced for human consumption is lost or wasted globally. This amounts to about 1.3 billion tons per year. SDG 2 recognizes the interlinkages among supporting sustainable agriculture, empowering small farmers, and ending rural poverty. Agroecological techniques and no-till farming techniques both help to prevent soil erosion and preserve water quality. Now, talking about Bharat, wastage of food, increasing poverty, discrimination amongst a certain class of the society, armed conflicts, and major rise in population are some of the major factors affecting hunger crisis in India. In order to eradicate hunger from the society, more money needs to be invested in it. In nutrition and food production needs to be increased through effective methods. Throughout the project, our research methodology included surveys, research, and interviews. A survey was conducted through Google Forms. The link of the form is provided below. The survey consisted of 78% Asians. Little contribution was also made by people from Europe, South America, North America, and Australia. When we asked them whether food insecurity was more of a globalized or a local issue, most of them were of the opinion that food insecurity is a global issue. 1% of the people also thought otherwise. Next, we asked respondents if there's any relation between food insecurity and inflation of prices. Almost, almost everyone believed that they were interrelated, and when one increased, the other also increased. Ethiopia is a country where people are impacted by hunger adversely due to reasons like limited agricultural resources and political instability. The government of Ethiopia has taken initiatives to improve agricultural practices and to provide cash and food to the needy. When we asked people about the best way to mitigate the food insecurity in Ethiopia, most people feel that providing families with food supplies who are facing critical food insecurity is the best way. As depicted by the pie chart here, 73% people are happy with the initiatives taken by the government in their country.
Next, we decided to take opinions of different people which we felt would benefit our research through interviews. Here is a glimpse of them. Our first interviewee was the vice principal of our school, Ms. Ritika Anand. She is a national award winner, recipient of Delhi State Teachers Award, and the list goes on. Now, let's move to the next slide. For if anyone wants to watch the video, you can click on the link. Afterwards, we decided to interview a chef. We thought that it would be a good idea if we can get to talk to someone who is more upfront with food insecurity and hunger crisis. Mrs. Tanveer Kaur Sardana, the owner of Heavenly Bites, a small bakery in Punjab, India, was the perfect fit. Next, we decided to record answers of people from different communities on a given set of questions. We interviewed a middle class school lecturer, a construction site worker, and a laundry woman. To our first question, we received answers that were completely different on every basis. The laundry worker believes that at the end of the day, the amount of food which they have is not sufficient to fill their stomachs, and sometimes they even go to sleep hungry. Also, the construction site worker is able to fulfill his and his family's daily needs. But still, sometimes the food is not enough. The lecturer, on the other hand, points out that food is easily available to her and her family. Our next question received contradictory responses too. The laundry worker told us how her family suffers because of not being able to have enough food. The construction site worker believes that even though the amount of nutrients received from the food he consumes is enough, he is still deprived of a healthy lifestyle. The lecturer and her family did not get affected by food insecurity that much. At the end of the interviews, we were convinced that the answer we will be receiving would be somewhat similar, and we were actually correct about it. All the people, even though coming from different backgrounds and societies, want their next generation to thrive and not suffer, and they are ready to work hard to achieve their respective goals. Here is a picture of the process of conduction of our interviews. Next, we would like to end by concluding that food insecurity is a global issue and can be eradicated and erased from the world only if we all join forces and decide to work together against it. To bring about a change in the perspective of the world, we first need to change our own and consider food insecurity and hunger crisis a global issue, even though we are not affected by it. Now, we would like to thank the people who were kind enough to lend us their time. I would also like to thank our teachers and mentors who guided us through the course of the research, Ms. Geeta Rajan and Ms. Bidi Sahani, and my teammates who made this research possible. In the end, I would like to thank all of you for being such a lovely audience and for listening to us with patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senior Secondary Public School, for the presentation. Now, I would like to open the floor to the participants for any questions.
Okay, my name is Muhammad Mushima Aris and I'm from Sekolah Menengah Sains MUAR. As you mentioned in your conclusion, that you mentioned that we need to use of agricultural practice, right? And may I know can you give an example of agricultural practice that we can do?
Yes, as mentioned in the PPT, no-till farming is one of the best ways.
Hello. So I have a question. So you mentioned just now about the different perspective of people when they talk about food crisis, right? Some of them say that they don't have time to get, more affordable food, and some of them just simply are more privileged. So, what do you think, or what do you think your government can do to bridge the gap between the different, what do you call this, privileged or less privileged people in your country? Thank you. When it comes to
Thank you for the question, sir. Sir, in my country, India, we have many policies that were launched by the government to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. There were many policies like providing food and giving free education. And they were also providing food to people who were going to school till the age of 14. I believe that if we work together, we can provide food to the people, we can provide them free education, and we can also provide basic health necessities that were required. And I feel that it would be really easy if we join hands and we work together, because working on a personal basis, or if the government is only working towards it, it wouldn't be possible to achieve food security.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you for the presentation. Okay. I've got a suggestion. Okay. Normally in the movies, sometimes we watch very poor people going to restaurants and picking up wasted food. I don't know whether that is a true scenario in India, all right? But if at all that is the case, what can you do to help them out? I mean, it's just a suggestion. Why not restaurants, have bins accordingly, neatly arranged for the poor people. If at all there is a waste, you don't just dump it in the dustbin, but like a recycle bin or something like that, so that at least it becomes more humane in that manner. So, what do you think about that?
Ma'am, I feel that whatever you said just now, like not throwing food in the dustbin and providing it to people who actually are in need of it, is a good idea. And I personally, on my basis, I try not to throw food, and I try to provide it to people who are generally in need of food. And also, I also feel that like we are having big functions and events that are conducted all over the world, but the food that is left is generally thrown out. So I believe that even that food can be used and give it to the people who are in general need of it.
Yeah, thank you.
That's marked the end of our session. Let's call it a day. Thank you to all the judges, presenters, and audience for your time, your cooperation, and contribution throughout this successful session today.
Thank you, sir.